Welcome back to the Getting Results Inc. podcast. My name is Coach Gino, and alongside is SuperCoach, Coach Ken. SuperCoach, how goes it?
Goes, well, I don't want to, Gino. I really don't feel like it. I don't want to do this today. I don't want to. You're not the boss of me. I can do what I want when I want, etc. So welcome to the I Don't Wanna podcast.
SuperCoach, I completely understand. Stop being a little bitch and a baby. That's my coaching to you. My coaching to you.
Nope, you ain't the boss of me.
So, SuperCoach, what do we do with that when people are in that place?
I don't wanna.
Yeah, what's that all about?
I don't wanna. You see, luckily, I'm being brave enough to actually language it and saying I don't wanna. What most people do is just get busy or get distracted or start pounding Instagram or following some sort of news story on in the interweb.
Or get those pencils sharpened because, hey, that was important. We got to get those pencils sharpened.
Or organizing. Organizing.
Another one.
Getting through those to-dos. Man, I got 150 to-dos. Oh, yeah? I can't do anything else other than if I get the to-dos done.
Yeah. Hey, I got a fax I got to put through. You know, I got to get that fax done because how's it going to get through if I don't put it through?
Who uses faxes?
That's my point.
You know, I talked to somebody. They said they did use a fax. I guess insurance companies use a lot of faxes for someone.
Well, yeah, honestly, the reason why that came up is I had a new client with us. He faxed me his intake form this morning before I called. And I said the same thing. I said, you faxed? I said, at the very least, shouldn't your assistant be faxing? Not you. He's like, yeah. I was like, we'll work on that.
I love faxing. I love the sound of the machine, the smell of the paper. All right, so gentle listeners out there, we're going to talk about like what happens like when you're really not motivated and you don't really feel like it, and I don't wanna. Because it was interesting this morning. Gino texted me or called me, say, Ken, do you want a podcast? And as I was sitting there with saving the world for capitalism and plotting to protect us on an even higher level, I was like, man, I don't feel like doing a podcast. It means I got to shower. I got to dress up. So Dave out there, I did not shower and I'm wearing hats and we'll talk about that because I didn't want to do it. And so luckily I showed up.
And SuperCoach, the reason why I did that, I was hoping you'd say, nah, let's not do it this week. So I can go, yes, I don't have to do that.
Yeah. So even Gino.
That's my excuse.
Gino didn't want it because, you know, as you all know, we are both very busy and important.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to put the C together for you people, the slight edge accelerator to bring your business and life to a next level. But many of you are resisting coming for some strange reason. You know, like busy, got kid schedules. There's always a lot of stuff going on.
Tomorrow.
You know, it was interesting. I was talking to one of my clients because he's trying to recreate his life. Like what is the next iteration? What's the next chapter of his existence? And I was literally, dude, you should come to the C, all right? Come to the Slight Edge Accelerator, you know, community of people who are up to stuff, new ideas, getting stuff together. And this will give you a lot of concepts and ideas really to redesign who you are and the next evolution of you. And he's been kind of stuck on what the next evolution of him is. And he's like, no, I don't do those things. I don't like to do those things. And I'm like, wait a minute. And I didn't say this, but I'm thinking this because I was just shocked. I'm like, what do you mean you don't do those things? Because you're stuck at where you are, but you're not willing to do something new to get new input to create a new output. You know, sometimes the biggest obstacle, not sometimes, always, the biggest obstacle to all of us, my development, Gino's development, is ourselves. So the biggest obstacle to your development, or whatever it is, you want to be $1 million producer, you want to be a billionaire, you want to be an Air Force Ranger, right? The distinction is, hello. People are trying to call me on the phone. I don't want to listen to you either.
I don't feel like it.
I don't feel like it. I don't want it. So the biggest obstacle is you. So let's talk about this stuff instead of me playing with change and being distracted. Like, how do you stay on point? Like, how does one stay consistent? Like, why are we having this podcast even though Gino or I didn't wanna do it? Okay, let me go through some reasons why we are on this podcast. Number one, the reason is we both believe that what we do is noble and right. That if we can put you on the path, your life will be changed for the better forever. Not only your life, your spouse, your children, your staff, your clients. you do not understand the impact that we will have on you. And it's part of our challenge is really to enroll you in that and to show you that's what's possible, because we know we have seen our clients go from $1 million in production to $6 million in production and growing, or a $300 million team going to $1 billion, or someone going from zero to multiple millions, or saving their marriage, having relationships with their kids again, building churches, building gyms, building houses. The stuff that we help people do is flat out amazing. So hence why they call me Super Coach, and that's why they call us Getting Results. So, okay, so let's play a little bit. How do you do the things you know to do, and how do you be consistent? First and foremost, is what you do noble and right? Are you on the righteous path? Are you out there literally saving lives? Is your business for you, or is your business for the service of others? If your business is for you, if I was doing this podcast for myself, guess what? I don't need to do a podcast. Yeah. I obviously know this. I was going to say shit that I'm talking about, and I just did. So I'm not. Hopefully, I'm not. Well, maybe I am doing this for my own benefit, so I can hear myself wax. It's not true. Indirectly. Well, we always operate in our own best interest, because I believe this is the podcast that goes viral because no, I don't want to. So principle number 1 is what you do noble and right. Are you clear that of your purpose, or at least semi-clear? Or are you only in the business to simply make money? Because if you're only in the business to simply make money, at some point, enough is enough. Like, how much money do you actually need? Now, here's a really strange thing. As if you're a male and you're listening, and all us guys out there know something about ourselves, we are relatively simple creatures, right? We are relatively simple. A lawn chair, a beer, a steak, good steak, maybe your dog at your side, by the poolside, by the lake, by the ocean, we'd be happy. We're pretty simple creatures. And remember, fellas, that doesn't take millions of dollars to do. Oh, and I forgot a pickup truck. And your pickup truck, your dog, your guns, plural for all you Northeasterners, plural.
Hey.
Right? So it doesn't take much to make us really happy and engaged. So the distinction is, well, if you're just doing this for yourself, it doesn't really take a lot for you to be happy.
Super coaching, typically, right? Who are we most likely to let off the hook or allow to be small in our world if we don't have a purpose?
No, it's ourselves.
There it is. We will always let ourselves down. But here's what happened today in a lot of sense. I reached out to you, and as a form of accountability, you reached out to me back. And because we were there for each other, we are now right here talking. Otherwise,
perfect.
If you weren't here and I didn't have to say, hey, what are we doing today? I would have I wouldn't have recorded crap. I would be out going on a rock or whatever right now. Who knows? Eating bonbons. Who knows what it would be?
And having a coffee.
Yeah, whatever.
Thinking about the lawn chair.
Yeah.
The beer. Right? Because there's another principle, is community. And I say this a lot. There's a great book, if you ever want to read, or even a great movie to watch, it's called The Razor's Edge. It's with Bill Murray. And there's one scene in The Razor's Edge where Bill Murray decides to become like a monk, etc. And he's up on this mountaintop, and he's doing the monk things on a mountaintop. And then he starts laughing, right? He starts laughing, and then he begins to burn the holy book that he has. And he has an amazing revelation. An amazing revelation is, it's really easy to be a holy man on the mountaintop. The much harder place to be a holy man is within the city. Right? Much like with Navy SEALs, it is much easier to be a Navy SEAL when you're surrounded by other Navy SEALs than if you're alone or in civilization. Right? It's about being a part of a community that calls to you, that lifts you up. I'm a member of CrossFit. I love doing CrossFit for a very simple reason. I would never train that hard by myself. And my co-patriots in the gym or in the box are there to cheer, or they're lifting 3 times the amount of that I am. And I'm like, man, I got to catch up. It's the push, it's the pull, it's the cajoling. It's being around a community that calls to you. Right? There's another point. Purpose, community.
And that whole idea of, in that community is having, and I know the term, and it's a great book too, extreme accountability, right? Is having someone someone you could be accountable to, and someone who can support you and pull you to your greatness. where you'll let yourself off the hook, but someone else who's committed to you and you're committed to them, that's a form of community that's going to keep you on track or pull you up when you're feeling down, when you don't feel like it, when you're bitching about it, or you get lost. That person can help pull you up.
Yeah, let's talk about accountability. Like everybody gets a little bit uncomfortable and say, "Hey, I'm going to hold you to account for your behavior," right? That's kind of like oh shit, I don't want to be held accountable. But really, accountability, what it really means is about caring. Somebody else cares. Somebody else is giving attention to the things that you want to accomplish. And that's the beautiful thing about accountability. It's often misconstrued as a stick. Now, in the business world, it can be misconstrued as a stick because your branch manager, whatever, is holding you. I'm going to hold you accountable to these results. And it's a power thing. And that's not really good leadership. If we look at it a different way, accountability is about caring. Hey, how can I help you reach that particular goal? So another quick thing about community in my CrossFit gym. So my goal each week is to do 5 CrossFits per week. And I've been doing CrossFit a long time, and I never really conquered doing 5 per week. So I put a goal out there. I got rewards that if I do 5 CrossFits per week, I'm going to get myself a ribeye. It's not a ribeye, a tomahawk steak. Okay. And what's been really interesting about putting that tomahawk steak out there for 5 complete workouts in a week is that how many other people in my box ask me about it. Hey, Ken, you're only 2 days away from that steak. Yeah. Hey, Ken, tomorrow, if you just show up tomorrow, you're going to get that. You're going to get that tomahawk. And they're actually excited for me. Now, is that accountability? The answer is yes, because now not only do I don't want to disappoint them, but I want to give them something to be excited about. Like people who are up to stuff. Just like 2 other guys or 3 other people from my box are going out and running a 100-mile race this weekend, right? Like, wow, that's a big deal, right? And the more that we encourage them to do it, the greater the probability that they'll actually complete.
Yeah, and I think people do take it as a negative, as a disciplinary thing or something like that. But the other way to look at it is ownership, right? Is having that partnership, that accountability, helping you to own it more, right? And that's what I think. It's more around, I have someone pushing me, so now it's forcing me to own it, which is what I want to have happen. It's not discipline or reprimands. I'm owning it. And when you own something, you have control over it.
And hard truth, as a coach or with our clients, all right, we can hold them accountable. What are we going to do if they don't do X, if they don't go to the gym? I mean,
charge them extra.
Or if you don't hit your sales numbers, or if you don't make your calls, what are we going to do? Reach over the phone or reach over the screen and smack you? No. What gets challenged is your identity. Okay, like who are you the type of man, or are you the type of person who completes, who finishes the job, who does not leave duties undone? That's a great phrase from Goggins. Do not leave duties undone. And I have that warfare with myself, duties undone, every day with the dishwasher. It's my job to unload. I hate the dishwasher, and I hate unloading the dishes. And it's just one of those things that, once again, do not leave duties undone. My wife doesn't understand the true value of my time and attention. But to keep marital peace, I unload the dishwasher diligently.
SuperCoach, the capitalist and peacekeeper. I didn't know this about.
I mean, capitalism and peace go hand in hand. It is better to trade goods than to trade blows or bullets.
Ooh, wise words.
Wise words. Another reason why we had the podcast, even though both Gino and I did not want to. Did not wanna. We have a structure. We usually podcast every Thursday. Every Thursday at 1 p.m. Okay? We might go to every second Thursday, which is probably a better idea at some point. But yet, that's still a structure. And structure sets you free. Now, and everybody can, now, I know you have a client. I've had clients. I sometimes hear about clients, too, who say the following words. I hate structure. I'm a very unstructured person. I want to do what I want. I want to do what I want. No, I want to do what I want when I want.
Jason, yes, I know you listen to this podcast. I'm talking to you, Jason. Spontaneous.
We have some other people who resist structure and just want to do what they want to do when they feel like it. Now, always a dangerous thing about doing stuff that you feel like I feel like eating ice cream. Okay, now, nothing wrong with that feeling, but let me ask you a quick question. Which I is talking? Like, is that the I that's committed to fitness? Is that the I that's committed to your health? Is that the I who's 6 years old and remembers having ice cream with Grammy on the back porch as you looked at the buffaloes roam? Right? Now, which I is actually present? And then another crazy thing. I really want ice cream. Why? Like, once again, why? Well, I have a sweet tooth. Why? Where did you get it from? Now, let's really pay attention to sweet tooth. Give all your attention to the sweet tooth. Oh my God, give all your attention to... Oh, new thought. Wow, I wish I had a cat. I wish I had a cat. If I only had a cat, I wouldn't be lonely anymore, because cats are really nice animals. Because your brain and you're thinking. The funny thing about thinking, right? I don't know if we've talked about this before. If we haven't, we should have, which we probably did. But if you think you are thinking, you are probably not. Real thinking takes effort. So unless there's a pen in your hands or your fingers are on the keyboard, more than likely you're not thinking. Much like this morning when I said, I don't wanna do the podcast. Now, I think that I'm thinking, I don't wanna. Well, why? Because I don't feel like it. I'm tired. I had a hard workout. I got the world to save for capitalism. I got gun things to set up. If you see my outfit, I got my whole new gun hat. Notice it's even a notch hat, so you can get it even lower to see down the barrel. Actually, you don't see down the barrel. You look at the target. Always look at the target, people. You're into sporting clays. Always look at the target. Great analogy to life. Always look at the target. Okay. I don't feel like it.
Yeah. SuperCoach, I think, that's why we do a lot of work around vision, right? Knowing who is it you do want to be, so you can stay in alignment with that. To your point, if I want to be ripped and in great shape and someone puts donuts in front of me, does that support my vision and who I want to be? And if it does, then by all means do it. If it don't. And also purpose, right? I want to go back to purpose, because I really think that's in the end, when you have a purpose behind something that's bigger than you, then you do get and do those things that are hard, that you don't feel like doing, you don't want to do, and maybe you don't even like to do, but because of that bigger purpose, right? Like, this podcast is more than about us. It's about, that one person who listens to it that never listened to us before. They hear this podcast and they get that slight edge that changes the trajectory of their business in their life. Mm-hmm. Right? That's huge. And I also know with my vision, this podcast fits right in my vision to grow getting results, to grow my client base, to get the word out there. So we're making that impact, and how it branches out to, we touch one person, they're touching other people with the stuff that we're teaching them. So we're having a much more bigger impact than just you and I talking on a podcast. And I think that's a huge purpose to have.
Right. Exponentially. It's kind of funny. You can hear the words echoing back at times from people, right? The whole conversation about champions, or even the conversation around mutants. Maybe because they've even read the book or read The Journey, The Evolution of a Financial Advisor. Available on Amazon as well as Kindle.
Yeah, pick it up.
Read it. You get some basic insight. It was funny. One of my clients, I gave him an idea. Well, I can't remember the idea that I shared with him. But he then shared it with his son. And his son said, wow, being a business coach sounds pretty cool. How did he do that? And I
That's
said,
awesome.
If you read the book, you'll have some basic principles of how this path was started.
I love that.
Once again, I do not want to. Now, as we said in the beginning of the call, the bigger thing to be very, very aware of is the distraction part. That it's really easy to get distracted. And not only is it really easy to get distracted, it's also really easy to succumb to your current circumstances. Right? Because just riddle me this, or envision with me this. This is something that's scary. Your yesterday is a lot like your today. And your today will be a lot like your tomorrow, which was actually yesterday. So you have a tendency to keep repeating yesterday. And if you're not exactly in a position that you want to be, you have to take new action. Or if you're really busy, you're then asleep because you're not thinking. Right? And since you're not thinking, you have a tendency to repeat. So if you're in financial services, you're an advisor, and your production has been relatively stuck somewhere for the last few years, you need to do something different. You need an intervention at some level. Even if you're doing 1.5, 1.5, 1.4, 1.5, 1.6, 1.5, 1.4. Now, with whole managed money concept is pretty easy because you're stacking cash and it just pays each year sometimes without doing a lot of effort. But if you're making that much money and you're that good at what you do, also imagines what's possible. Like, and if you listen to our stuff, if you're doing a good business, you're not normal, you're a mutant producer. But the scary part is you're surrounded by normal people. And every society has a certain center of gravity. This is a quote from Ken Wilber. Every society has a certain level of gravity. If you go below it, it has a tendency to pick you up. You can see with all our social welfare programs in the United States. If you go above it, it has a tendency to pull you down. Hence the tax rates. Hence we often get punished for productivity. It gets this fascinating question. Why? Why would you ever punish the productive?
Atlas shrugged, Ken. Atlas.
Yeah, it's Atlas shrugged. But the reason why you punish the productive is because the mediocre, the middle, are the ones voting for the tax rates, right? Or the great middle, the great group. So if you want to strive beyond the norm, you have to do things that normal people wouldn't do. Like travel when it's inconvenient, or find a babysitter for the kids, or invest in yourself even if you don't have any money.
Or you don't do those kind of things.
What do you mean don't do that? What's that?
You said someone earlier said, I don't do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I don't do that kind of stuff, right? I don't do those kind of
trainings.
I don't. I was flabbergasted at that. I wasn't smart enough to respond. I'm like,
caught you off guard.
caught me totally off guard. As coach, I'm your coach. I'm telling you to do this. Not like
they said, SuperCoach. I don't feel like doing that. I don't like that.
Say that again.
They said, I don't feel like doing that. I don't like that.
Yeah, right. I don't feel like it. Yeah, I don't feel like it. Well, yeah. It's kind of like, so sometimes advisors say, my clients they just don't take my advice. They don't listen. Makes you wonder, then why are they your client?
And you guys, hear us laughing and stuff. The only reason why we can laugh about this because it's not just you that experiences. We all experience this kind of stuff, right? Like this is being human, and this is the stuff we run into both for ourselves, but then our clients and at home or wherever it is, right? We all go through this. That's the part you can laugh at, but here's the part that you can get serious about is, take an inventory. Do you have a purpose? If you don't, we can help with that. Do you have a vision, a 3-year, 1 year, and a 12-week? We can help with that. Do you have a daily structure and a plan to follow? We can help with that. Do you have a community and people that can hold you accountable and raise you up? We can help you with that as well. So, being in all seriousness, through our one-on-one coaching, now we have our Slight Edge accelerator programs that are going to be every 90 to 120 days. All those two things have all that built into them. And it's just about taking action. And, are you okay with where you're at? Or are you dissatisfied and you want to do something more, something bigger? We're here for that. We can help you with it.
Even if you are satisfied with where you're at, you got to be curious. You got to be curious that there's something more.
Right. Good point.
Right. You got to be curious that perhaps there's something more. But then again, you might be busy. And the busyness thing always gets in the way, and kids and school, etc. So a quick, fun story. Since now that I want to be here now, I got over I don't want to do a podcast.
Yeah, now we're having fun. We're warmed up here.
Right. We're warmed up. I'm not as bitter as I was when I started. Right. So let's give you even more value. If you guys are looking at YouTube or you see us on the video, you will notice that I have a hat and a shirt on. Now, I'm going to tell a fast story about this, which I find kind of, I always find amusing. So I bet all of you out there have your own company's gear. Like if you notice in the upper left, whatever corner is, we have the Getting Results icon, and we have all the Getting Results stuff behind us. Well, lo and behold, both Gino and I have lots of Getting Results gear. So here's a funny story. So I used to be a member of the Sarasota Yacht Club, and at that yacht club, I diligently wore my Getting Results stuff, like proud business owner, capitalist, etc. And I'd be proudly at the bar, intermingling with people. etc. For years, not a single soul ever asked me about, hey, what is getting results? Or, hey, I heard about you, and I got the hats and I got all this stuff. And not a damn person ever asked me what my business was about. Right? Maybe you experience that too if you're wearing your Edward Jones gear, your Morgan Stanley gear, your LPL gear. Maybe when you walk in a room, people begin to flee because you have the advisor gear on. Maybe a Northwestern Mutual, the quiet company. You don't wear gear. So, right, we often think that if we put our brand out there, that's going to attract people to talk to us. If you've noticed from experience, it usually doesn't work that way. Now, there's a benefit to putting your stuff everywhere, right? You're raising awareness. So when they see it again, there's a level of comfort. But if you actually want to talk to people, like if you want people to self-select forward at advantage, I wore this hat, not this hat, a hat like this, and a shirt like this at the yacht club. And it was amazing how many people come up to me and go, hey, do you shoot there? Do you what do you do? Sporting clays? Do you trap? You do ski? And all of a sudden, all these conversations happened, not because of my company, but because of stuff that I like to do. So let that all be a lesson for y'all out there. As if you were one of our clients, we'd have you narrowed in on what your A activities are, how are you developing business, and how can you make that easy? So just the other day, I'm at CrossFit, and I wear Getting Results gear there too. Does anybody ever talk to me about it? But I wear gun gear. Guess what? At least 2 people today have came up to me and said, hey, I'm shooting there tomorrow. Crazy. Now, if I didn't have the hat on, that conversation would have never happened. So one of the things to think about it is think about who are you trying to attract? Now, many of you have an ideal client that looks something like this. Well, they're 50 years old. They have $500,000 in investable assets, and they're good people, and they take my advice. Okay. How are you going to attract them? Like, how are they going to self-select and step forward to you? Are you going to wear I'm looking for 50-year-old people with a shirt with $500,000 in investable assets or more? No, that's why everybody gets stuck. That's why you get stuck in the office all the time, being busy instead of being effective. Maybe you're looking for people who golf. And if you're a golfer, all of our golfing clients out there, as well as followers, prospects, if you're using your business or if you're using golf to grow your business, are you making it easy to let people know that you play golf and not just with your mouth? All right. Boom. Whoever listened to me, you just made a shit ton of money by that simple little quip. Or if you're not into golf, like I'm not, I'm into something else. Can you guess what it is? Can you guess? Anybody have any guesses? Do you know any guesses?
Arts and crafts?
I love arts and crafts. I mean, like the painting, like putting a little detail, or the bedazzler gun. Me and my daughter are making a bedazzle thing, right? So a little bit of thought goes a long way.
That's huge, Super Coach, when you think about that, because you don't really think of it that way, right? So in this case, what you're saying, it's more about what you do, what you're into, versus what the name is on the hat or the brand, right?
Nobody cares about where you work.
Like Nike, it doesn't matter if it's Nike, but if it says Nike shot team, heck, I know about that shot team. You on that shot team? Oh no, let's talk, right? And it triggers.
At least it can create a conversation. So if you wear your company's name out, let's say you're going to wear your company's name to the ballpark. Okay, whatever your company's name is, we'll call your company Java Financial. So if you're wearing Java Financial at the ballpark, the people who will self-select and walk towards you or contact with you are either A, clients of Java Financial, that's relatively low, but more than likely the people who are going to approach you are fellow workers or fellow advisors at Java Financial.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
So if we're mindful of things, so once again, you're at the ballpark. Let's say you're the Red Sox and you're wearing a Red Sox outfit at the Red Sox ballpark. Who are you going to attract? You're not going to attract anybody. Why? Because everybody's a Red Sox fan. You're fitting in. You're part of the herd, if you will. Everybody's dressed the same. But if you wear a Yankees shirt or a Yankees hat, you may get beat up, right?
Actually, Ken, you just brought to mind my last trip to Sarasota in February for Peerage. I was wearing that hat from the country club that we were at in Kansas City, that our client, right?
We're
he got
free.
us those hats.
Yeah, we're
And I
free.
had someone come up at the airport and say, "Oh, have you golfed there? I've golfed there too." And I go, "Oh, really? In Kansas City?" He goes, "No, it's in Nevada." And I go, "Oh, there must be." I go, "Not that one, but maybe their sister." But we had this great conversation around it, and the hat triggered him to just
Yes.
come up and talk to me about it. And you just reminded me of that.
Yes. Yes.
It works. Shit works.
Shit works. It works. But once again, it takes a level of mindfulness and also takes a level of courage. Because obviously, if I'm wearing gun gear, that could make many bunch of Karens out there very upset. Or I could offend, whatever that word is, could offend people. And to me, that's okay. Because I wouldn't want them as a client. That's not my people. Right? Not my people. But if you can figure out who your people are, now you're playing an advantage. And the clearer you are on your people, the easier it is to find them. And then here we go, boys and girls, the easier it is for them to find you. Because remember, whatever you're seeking is also seeking you. And the clearer you are on what you are seeking, the clearer it is that it is also seeking you. I know that sounds a little weird, a little creepy at times, but the scary part is it's true.
It's a universal principle, no doubt.
It's a universal principle. And where things get blurry is when we don't have exactitude.
That's the problem. That's why it doesn't work. Oh, that never works. That's because you weren't clear enough. Because you didn't really put it together and get clear on it. If you do, see what happens.
Right. I was talking to a dude the other day about the sea, and they're like, God, you just can't 12 times. You can't do a multiplier in your business. You just can't. You just all the infrastructure that takes you. You just can't do it. It's just too much effort. And I was like, you're right. But what if you could? Well, you can't. You can lead a horse to water. You can't make them drink. Right? Because once again, let's go back to this idea of seeking, is that once you believe something is possible, right? Once the possibility is at least somewhere in your head, it's possible for you to become a $1 million producer. It's possible for you to own 5 city blocks. Whatever. It's possible for you to run a marathon. Once you sort of cross that little Rubicon in your head, suddenly, not only will probabilities of achievement begin to present themselves to you, but if you're around a community of people who support you and who are up to you and believe in who you are and have a level of comfort around them, they will actually begin to help. Right? They will begin to give you possibilities. Just like if any of you called in right now, you can't, but if you did, and you said, well, Coach Gino, I want to do X. I want to be an Air Force Ranger. More than likely, either Gino or I can begin to put you on that path of being an Air Force Ranger, even if you're 59 years old. Now, that doesn't mean you're actually going to be jumping out of airplanes. It may, but if we really began to dig into, okay, what does an Air Force Ranger mean to you? You're going to begin to elicit something, right? You're going to begin to paint a picture for us. And that strong probability, we could get you pretty close to that picture, if not beyond that picture, or at least 50% to that picture. And how cool would that be?
Right. Absolutely. I love that, and going back to the whole, 12 times, 10 times, whatever it might be. It's the old saying, right? Whether you think you can or not, you're right.
Right. You're right.
Either way.
Henry Ford. That's right.
That's it.
Right. Spot on. And see, let's go sort of wind this up here or bring this whole podcast together. Is that I don't want to. Like, if you all go back and listen to the beginning of this podcast, y'all don't want to. I don't want to do this. Whine. You didn't want to do it. And then an interesting thing happened. We started doing the podcast, and then it started to flow. And then all of a sudden, I would say, Gino's probably glad you did this, or I'm glad that we did this whole I don't wanna thing. Because like all feelings, all emotions, they shall pass. And once again, ask yourself, which I is present? Now, was it the SuperCoach saving America from capitalism present when I said I don't wanna? No. Who was present was Ken, and he was tired. And there's always a lot of moving parts in the world, right? We're doing an event in a couple of weeks in Kansas City. You look on the website, it's called the C, Slide Edge Accelerator. It'll change your world. There's a lot of prep work, that design work, putting those things together to make the impact on the people that are going to be there, going to change their lives forever. And that is deep and meaningful work. And not that this podcast isn't, but that is a multiplier effect, right? That is a game changer. So attention was drawn in that arena. Once again, so if you don't want to, it'll pass. If you're committed, all right, what's your purpose? Do you have a structure? Do you have a community?
Bingo.
Those three things can help you do the things that you know you need to do, but you may not actually want to do.
Absolutely. Awesome, Super Coach. Great stuff today. To our listeners, if you enjoyed our podcast today and got value out of it, please like us, share us, follow us. We can be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and on our website, gettingresults.com/resources. And by the way, to Ken's point, check out our Slight Edge Accelerator program. It's right there in the menu on our website. Check it out. And if you can't do the next one that comes up in Kansas City, look for the next one coming out in about 90 to 120 days. And we'll hope to see you there. Otherwise, until next time, be great.